How to scale Facebook ads in 2024. Now, why can I talk about this? I have extensive experience scaling Facebook ads. This is an account in the clothing space that I scaled to $37,000 per day in November of 2023, 4.92 return on ad spend at 186,000 conversion value. So scaled this account to spending over $37,000 in one day at almost a 5 return on ad spend. Honestly, the return on ad spend is not super important for those of you guys that are advanced marketers. In-platform attribution, especially for brands of this size, means basically nothing. Just know that if I spent $37,000 for a brand or on an account, that it's very likely that it went well and that they had the money to spend that. Otherwise, I'd be in some deep shit, right? So that's why I could talk about this, just because I've scaled accounts to spending it's not $1 million a day, but I think it's a good amount, right? And it's a lot. It's a certain level of spend that I think a lot of dropshippers or e-commerce brand owners would be happy to spend profitably in a month, right? So let's talk about the old methods. Now, there's a lot of misinformation, unfortunately, online when it comes to how to scale Facebook ads. A lot of dropshippers, a lot of gurus teaching methods that honestly they don't make sense. I mean, they work in the short term, but they're just completely outdated and just far inferior to the new method that I'm about to show you in this video. So let's talk about the old methods: duplicating winning ad sets 5 to 10 times, otherwise known as horizontal scaling. And guys, just because you call something, if you give duplicating ad sets 5 to 10 times a fancy name like horizontal scaling, that doesn't mean it's actually a method. It's really just a rebranded name for gambling, right? Separate testing and scaling campaigns, and then we have interest groups and lookalikes. So let's go through each one of these really quick. So what's wrong with duping? It works short term, but invariably leads to constant launching or killing, aka day trading. Now, if you guys are doing lots of duplication, then you know those dupes usually don't last that long. Usually you're having to duplicate ad sets every, let's call it 3 to 7 days. But regardless, you're constantly launching, you're constantly killing, and you're probably spending hours inside of your ad account. And you get a few good days of performance, but inevitably when those dupes fall off and performance tanks, you end up killing, and the cycle continues multiple times per week, right? Duping also puts focus on quote unquote pockets of audience as opposed to creative. And this is a term that, I subscribed to this theory for a long while. And it was only until I got experience behind high spending 5-figure a day ad accounts that I realized what a farce this idea of pockets of audience is. And really what the driving force of campaign efficiency is the inputs. So the creative, the offer, the landing page, the brand, those things drive scale and impact scale infinitely more significantly than something like finding winning pockets of audiences. Then we also have that duping magnifies poor user experience, leading to higher CPMs and CPAs. So what I mean by this is the best e-commerce sites in the world convert at like 3 to 5%, regardless, single digit percentage, which means for every 3 people that convert, there's 97 people that don't convert. So you can think about this in terms of user experience as well. This is why our click-through rates are measured in 1 to 5%. So for every 100 people you show the ad to, you only get 1 person to click. That means there's 99 people who are scrolling past the ads and don't click. Expected click-through rate is one of the variables that is determined in your total ad value or ad rank, which determines whether or not you win an auction. So in other words, by duplicating an ad set multiple times, you're magnifying, you're getting more reach. This is true. You can't deny it. And it does work in the short term, but you're also magnifying that poor user experience. Because now instead of having one ad set where you're getting 3 clicks every 100 and 97 people who hate the ad, you're getting times 2 of that. So you're getting, instead of 3 clicks, you're getting 6 clicks, but now you're getting 97 times 2 of people who don't care for the ad, which leads to higher CPMs and higher CPAs. What's wrong with testing and scaling campaigns? So testing and scaling campaigns, it sounds really nice in theory, but the truth is there's a very low success rate. And I don't really have any screenshots here to show you, but just test it out on your own account. You guys have probably tested this before, but there's a low success rate when you transfer winners from testing to scaling. And the reason for that is because new ad tests don't have to earn spend against other winning variables. If I want an ad test to spend $1,000, I can make it spend $1,000. I just set the individual ad budget and let it rip. And that ad creative never has to earn spend. against another creative. I can A/B test them in separate campaigns, but the truth is, it's never having to go up against a creative up until the point I throw it into a scaling campaign. And that's why when you throw it into a scaling campaign, you see that that creative actually was not worthy of scaling and it flops. So it's really, just the fact that the ad tests don't have to earn any spend against other winning variables in your account. And then lastly, it just overcomplicates the account. Like, why create more headaches than you need to? Why make scaling more difficult than you need to, right? If you can do everything as simply as possible, then why not? Why overcomplicate and have multiple testing and scaling campaigns and crossing over campaigns, ad sets and ads into other campaigns, ad sets and ads? It's like, if you want to, you can do that, but there's just easier ways to scale accounts. What's wrong with interests? So interests, people get grouped into interests for engaging with pages. If you read the definition, it's people who engage with a certain page, regardless of positive or negative. So Meta doesn't actually tell you whether those interactions with pages are positive or negative. So for example, a guy who hates cats comments on cat posts, F cats, right? And he's engaged with a cat post. In fact, he's left a comment, right? He's left a comment on the post. So it looks like, he took the time to engage with it. And he gets thrown into the quote unquote cat interests, right? Remember, Meta is a machine. It's an algorithm. It's a series of zeros and ones. It doesn't have the context. So if I comment and engage with a post negatively, I'm going to get thrown into that cat interest. And if you're targeting a cat product, I'm sure you don't want those guys who are commenting things like that. You don't want your ads serving to them. Secondly, people get labeled after they've shown intent with other brands. So if I buy a teeth whitening kit, let's say you target like dental hygiene as an interest. If I've recently bought a teeth whitening kit, let's say from Snow Teeth Whitening, I'm going to be getting served teeth whitening kit ads, even though I have no intent to buy. I've just made a purchase. I've shown the highest intent on another competitor's page. I've added to cart. I've been to the website, reached checkout. I've even purchased. And so it looks like I'm someone who really engages with brands in the space, when in reality, I have no intent to buy, right? A teeth white, especially higher AOV price points, where I'm not purchasing multiple quantities of higher price point products within a short time period. Why should I be served a teeth whitening kit ad? Maybe that will help, or that has a tertiary benefit of, in the future, when my teeth whitening kit from Snow runs out, I may want to consider another brand. But we're talking a several month to potentially year-long life cycle of what I just described. So why bother? Now with lookalikes, Facebook already does this for you. So the whole idea with a lookalike, and it sounds really good in theory, is that you're creating an audience based off of a custom audience of people who have shown or made, who have shown a certain level of intent on your site, whether that's visiting the site, time spent on the site. But Facebook already does this for you, okay? Example, if optimizing for purchase, Facebook is already going after the people most likely to convert. You're telling Facebook to go after purchases. Don't you think it's going to go after the people most likely to convert anyways? Facebook's using data from the ad account and data on the users, so the data that it has on us, to figure out who to serve the ads to. It doesn't need you to give it data. It has the data. It doesn't need you as the marketer to say, here's this specific set of data and you should create an audience off of it. It's like, it's already doing that. You're telling it to go after purchases. So it's going after people most likely to convert, and it has that data already. It has the link clicks. It has the add to carts. It has even more than that, actually. So in fact, all you're doing when you are limiting to a certain lookalike based off of add to carts or initiate checkouts is you're actually canceling out all of the data that is also valuable on people just because they don't fit into a certain, add to cart event, right? And then lastly, audience size on lookalikes is just small. Right? They're tiny. They're like, we're talking like 1 million to 2 million. Why limit your audience size to 1 million to 2 million when you can go after 50 million people, right? Or you can keep it as wide as possible, right? When Facebook's already doing this stuff for you. Okay, so the new method. Now that we've gone over the old methods, let's talk about the new method. The new method is the one campaign, or I call it the one campaign in all caps because I think it looks sick. I am not the first person to champion this method. I'm not the first person to talk about this method. CT the Disruptor, Nick Terrio, these are both guys who have been preaching the one campaign longer than I have. And the reason why I preach it as well is because it works. I've tried all the old methods. I've wanted to smash my head against a wall, day trading inside of my ad account, spending hours trying to crack the ad account madness, only to realize that it's actually a lot simpler once you understand how Meta works, or at least have enough of an understanding to know that it doesn't need to be as complicated as some of these people make it out to be. So one campaign per business objective or product or category. Per business objective meaning driving sales or versus driving leads, or driving sales for evergreen products versus a promotion, and one campaign per product category or category. We do testing and scaling in one CBO, and we use broad targeting. The one campaign setup, very simple. You do one CBO campaign. You have one winners ad set, and that contains, by winners, we define winners as anything or any ad creative that is producing at target that also has a high volume of spend. High volume of spend is going to be relative to your account, but if you are someone who is trying to migrate from any of the old methods into this new method, what you can do is open up your ad account, filter by maximum time frame, filter by amount spent, find ads with a high volume of spend, also producing conversions at your target CPA. Take the best ads with the highest spend and the best CPA, get like 3 to 5 of them, throw them into the winners ad set. So in short, the winners ad set should just be your best ad creatives. If you're in the account, you know which one those are. So put them in to the winners ad set. Then we're going to go broad targeting, age, gender, and country. Honestly, I don't even touch age and gender. I just leave that completely broad, and the only thing I'm modifying really is the country. We use automatic placements, highest cost, lowest volume, so no cost caps. Don't even mention a freaking cost cap in the comments or anywhere to me. I freaking hate them. We're running highest cost, lowest volume, 7-day click, 1-day view. There are very few use cases for any other attribution window outside of 7-day click, 1-day view. And if you're a brand that is deciding on attribution windows, then you know which one you need to use. But the way I like to think of it is 7-day click, 1-day view allows for the highest quantity of data to be filtered through the ad account, which is most important, especially if you're dropshipping or if you're a low spend, under 6-figure spending brand, just getting as much data into the ad account as possible. And then 1-day click is best suited really for brands that want the highest quality of data. And also for brands where it's important to measure the incrementality of every single sale, because 1-day click is obviously the highest quality action that we can procure from Facebook, because it's people that are clicking on an ad and within 1 day purchasing. So if that's important to you, and again, that is a separate tier of brands that I guarantee you like 99% of people watching this video does not apply for, 7-day click, 1-day view, get the most data through to the ad account as possible. If you're dropshipping, no audience exclusions. If you're a brand, 30-day pixel purchaser audience exclusions. Create a custom audience, do pixel purchasers in the last 30 days, throw that in as an excluded audience into your ad set, and you are good to go. So we have our one winners ad set with those settings, 1 to 2 creative testing ad sets as well. Those are going to inherit the exact same settings as your winners ad set. We're doing 1 to 2 creative testing ad sets every 3 to 7 days. We're batch testing new creatives in the same CBO as our winners. That is the one campaign CBO setup. I know, very simple. This is all you need to scale your ad account. Why one campaign? So why one campaign and why CBO? Well, advantage campaign budget or campaign budget optimization, as defined by Meta, is one central campaign budget that continuously distributes in real time to ad sets with the best opportunities throughout the course of your campaign. So in other words, when we launch a creative testing ad set alongside our winners ad set or against another ad set containing our best performers, the test ad sets have to earn spend by Meta's definition by way of creating better opportunities than your winners. The winners ad set keeps spend going to your best ads. Profitable scale equals increasing the volume on what's working while mitigating volume on what's not working. So if I'm doing, a separate testing campaign and a separate scaling campaign, the testing campaign, well, if I'm testing, then by definition, those are variables that I'm testing that are unproven or are not producing a certain type of result. So if I'm forcing spend, if I have a separate testing campaign where I'm forcing spend into unproven stuff, I'm invariably going to waste a lot of spend on unproven stuff. The reality is that the majority of testing does not produce winners. If the majority of testing did produce winners, then we'd all be freaking millionaires and not watching videos like these, right? So when we create test ad sets inside of the CBO campaign and we, by definition, only allow for spend to allocate into those test ad sets when they create better opportunities than the winners, we're mitigating spend on those bad and underperforming ad sets, because they're not going to get spent unless they create better opportunities than the winners ad set. And then we also maximize how much spend we get out of winning tests, because if a test ad set is creating better opportunities than the winners, and let's say I'm running a $200 CBO budget, I might see $100 going to that test ad set. Whereas if I'm doing a test ad set and a separate testing campaign at like $10 to $20 a day, then I'm only going to get $10 out of that ad set. I'm going to have to wait 7 days before I get actual significant volume of spend through that test ad set, when in reality, it could be ready to scale much quicker, right? Okay, so like anything, focus is power. So if you've seen this graph before, on the left is you trying to do everything, and on the right is when you focus on one thing. Okay, and your ad account functions the exact same way. In fact, everything in life really functions just like this, and your ad account really is no different. So this is you trying to do everything, and this is not like a spiritual, like woo-woo type thing. This is like literal physics. I mean, it's not literal physics, but you get what I mean. You could go, if I have, let's say, 9 inches. That just did not come out wrong. If I have 9 inches, I can go 1 inch 9 different ways, or I can go 9 inches in one way. And like anything, focus is power, and the ad account is the exact same way. I can go $3,000 per day through one campaign and one set of high-performing ads, or I can do $200 on my best ads and $200 on the test ads and $200 in this ASC and $200 on this ABO campaign. And so like anything, really, focus is power. And when you focus on the one key thing, which is your best performing ads, and you focus on launching ad sets that have to create, by definition, better opportunities than your winner's ad set in order to get spend, your ad account becomes very streamlined and becomes significantly easier to scale. And lastly, you're also working with the AI and with Meta and the algorithm, right? And if the direction of media buying is going towards increasingly lower levels of control to the media buyer, then ultimately it's in your best interest to figure out how to leverage these tools to your advantage as efficiently and as effectively as possible. So how do you actually manage? So I actually have a separate kind of Miro board that's a little bit complicated that shows you how to do this, but how do you actually manage? It's very simple. If you're at target CPA, scale by 20%. You can scale by more than 20%. I personally like 20%. I don't think there's a magic number to where people say if it's lower than 20%, it doesn't, you don't go reset the learning phase. Honestly, I just like 20% because I find when I do an increase by 20%, I usually don't see any disruption in performance, or performance doesn't completely destabilize. The same way I do if I do a doubling of the budget. If I double or triple, I usually see performance kind of act weird, not all the time, but I think 20% is a nice safeguard, and it's just a nice number. 20%, small little bump, right? So if I'm at target CPA, scale by 20%. Now, whether you use Northbeam, whether you use Triple Whale, whatever you're tracking, if you are at target cost per acquisition, and if you're a legitimate brand, you're looking at new customer CPA. If you're dropshipping, you're just looking at your blended CPA. If I'm at target, scale by 20%, and I leave. I don't touch anything. If I am at target, I scale by 20%, close my laptop, and I go watch a movie with friends, or I go to the gym, or go back to work. You get the point. That is it. If you are at target, scale. If you're not, check the last 3 days. Okay. Now, if the last 2 days are at target, don't touch the budget. Just leave it. You might be having a bad day. It happens. Performance ebbs and flows. It fluctuates. You're going to have one-off bad days. So if the last 2 days look good and yesterday is just a one-off bad day, don't touch. If the last 3 days you're not at target, check if you're profitable. So now you have a 3-day stretch where you're not performing at target. Check if you're profitable. If the last 2 days you're not at target but you're profitable, don't touch. This is especially pertinent for you brands that are actually driving traffic from multiple different channels. You have an organic presence. You maybe did a Good Morning America feature. Check if you're profitable. Remember, as a media buyer or as someone managing an ad account, your goal is to drive business success, not conversions at target CPA, not return on ad spend. Your goal is to drive business success. And more often than not, that means drive profit. Especially for dropshippers and, lower spending e-com brands. So if you're profitable, don't touch the budget. Leave it. Your ad account is functioning as intended, which is to drive business success. Just because the attribution isn't showing that you have a certain amount of purchases and you're at target return on ad spend doesn't matter, right? There are conversions that maybe aren't picking up. Maybe the attribution is just not reporting correctly. Don't touch. You're profitable. And more often than not, you can test this yourself. You will find that the next day you'll actually be profitable, and then you'll see all the attribution and you'll be like, wow, I'm so glad I did not touch the budget because I would have missed out on so much spend. Now, if the last 3 days you're not at target and you're not profitable, lower by 20%. So if you check the last 3 days of performance, you're not at target and you're not making money, lower by 20%, close the laptop, and move on with your life. Now, when do you test new creative? So what is the role of creative testing? All right. So when you test new creatives is when you can't scale past a certain daily spend. The whole point of creative testing is to improve the efficiency of the campaign so you can spend more. That is why we create ads. We create ads so we can improve the efficiency of the campaign, so we can drive lower CPAs and higher return on ad spends so we can spend more. That is the role of the creative test. You do 1 to 2 creative tests per week. That's the cadence that I like. I think you should, at minimum, be always testing 1 to 2 creative tests per week because you never know, right? And 1 to 2 creative tests ensures that you are driving a certain level of quality of creative tests. But also 1 to 2 creative tests I find to be a sweet spot in terms of volume as well. 1 to 2 creative tests per week. And I believe that is the end of the deck. So that is the end of the training. That is how you scale Facebook ads in 2024. Let's do a very, very quick recap of everything that we talked about. We talked about why the old methods are outdated and the superior method, in my opinion, which is the one campaign. So it's a quick recap. 1 CBO campaign, 1 winner's ad set, broad targeting, auto placements, highest cost, lowest volume, 7-day click, 1-day view. You have your winner's ad set, and then you're launching 1 to 2 creative testing ad sets every 3 to 7 days. When it comes to scaling, you scale by 20% if you're at target. If not, you check the last 3 days. Depending on the last 3 days, you're either going to not touch the budget and leave it, or you're going to lower by 20%. That is how you scale Facebook ads in 2024 to spending $37,000 per day. It is really not that hard. Is actually quite simple, and this is the only training that you need to watch in terms of how to scale Facebook ads. Facebook ads amplify your business. If you're not getting the results you want in your ad account, chances are you're not giving Meta the correct inputs to generate the results that you want. So if you're not seeing results, it's not because you're doing 5 ad sets versus 10 ad sets. It's not because you're doing an ASC campaign and a CBO campaign. It's not because you have a testing campaign and a scaling campaign and your scaling campaign's not set up correctly, or you're not doing individual ad budgets, or whatever the case may be. It's 9 times out of 10 because the inputs that you are giving Meta are of an insufficient quality to drive the kind of results that you want. So focus on the inputs, focus on quality creative, focus on having a really good offer, focus on conversion rate optimization, focus on your brand, focus on organic presence. Those things will have a more significant impact on driving good results in your ad account than your ad account setup ever will. And that is it for this video, and I'm going to end it here. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this training, and I hope you try this out and see some great results with your account. Peace.